And we are live. Thank you guys so much for hanging in there. It was, you got to love technology sometimes because, you think when it's so easy, it just likes to flip the script on you and kind of just send you in a whole different direction. But we're here. We are live. I hope everybody's having a great day. It is a beautiful Tuesday evening right here in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. I cannot be more blessed than I am today because I'll tell you, my guest that I have here today is a lovely lady that I met 2 years ago. I want to say now. She'll correct me if I'm wrong. We met up at the Supernatural Paracon up in Connecticut, all part of the Warrens Paracon. It was such an amazing event, and her group was all across the hallway from me. So unfortunately, for the whole entire day, they had to listen to me talk. And I did get them and all their gang on. They are truly an amazing group. They run a haunted movie theater up there in Pennsylvania. We are going to talk a little bit about that as well as everything else that goes along. But more importantly, we are here to talk about an issue that seems to be popping up more and more in the world as, people are starting to struggle, people are losing their jobs, people are just, falling out of hard times altogether. And that, of course, is drug addiction. We're going to talk about her drug addiction. And also, not only has she overcome drug addiction, but she has also overcame domestic violence, which another thing that has been plaguing our world as of late. Every time you turn on the news or whatever, I try to avoid the news like the plague because I find it's nothing but bad news. So yeah, this is like a double whammy for this fantastic lady. She's been an amazing person to get to know over the last few years. We connect off and on because she lives way over in Pennsylvania. Of course, I'm way over here in Canada, but we stay in touch, and that's the best part of Facebook. So right now, I'm going to introduce this lovely lady. She goes by the name of Ariel Gratta. Did I get that
Yeah,
right? I hope I got that
you
right.
did. You did very good. And you are correct.
Oh,
About 2 years ago, we met.
oh wow. I mean, it seems like it just seems like yesterday. I still
Yeah,
remember that event. It was such an amazing weekend.
it
Got to
was.
got to meet so many fantastic people.
Yeah.
Got to meet Ryan Buell for the first time. Of
I
course,
know. He's so nice.
he is. He was such a great guy. And he was another guy who overcame drug addiction.
Yeah.
And I mean, height of his career, Paranormal State was like the hottest paranormal
Yeah.
show on TV. And like other things, they get canceled, and he fell on hard times. But yeah, no, absolute sweetheart. I guess it was his first appearance that he had in quite a few years.
Yeah. I
That
just
that
saw him at this past year's Warren's Con. He was there and we got to connect and talk. And he was just absolutely just a very wonderful human being.
Yes, no, for sure. And like I said, I mean, Tony Spera and Judy,
Oh, I
that whole
know.
crew, like, wow, they put on one hell
I
of an
know.
event.
Wade
Uh,
Kirby, I absolutely adore him. I tell him every time I see him that he's changed my life in so many ways, and he has. He's a fantastic human being.
yeah, and that's a common thing I find in a lot of people within the paranormal field. We've all come together and we've all been there to support each other
Yeah.
in one way or another. And it's one of those. I don't believe people come into my life by accident, and there was a reason why I had the opportunity to be there that weekend and be able to see you, meet you, and met your amazing crew. We're going to talk a little bit about that just a little bit later on because I would love people who are going to be in the Pennsylvania area to get down to your site
You
and
come from
everything you
Canada.
guys. Yeah, I really got to get back there. I was in Virginia this year.
I love it
You
too.
know, and it's always one of those things. You see the Pennsylvania sign, and you're like, "Oh,
Like I
I
go
can
there.
message her and say I'll come and visit you guys."
You could come at any time.
Yes, no, I want to get up there because, like I said, I love haunted theaters. It's just kind of ever since I was probably in my late 20s, and I actually worked at a haunted theater in Vancouver, Canada.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so then it's just been like my thing. It's like it's either prisons or movie theaters that I want to investigate because I find the history between the two are so amazing between the
Yeah.
two.
A lot of
But
the theaters are quite amazing. Like we had Jack Barrymore perform at our theater. I mean, that's Drew Barrymore's grandfather. The Barrymores were very famous family and stuff like that. I mean, we've had Roy Rogers at my theater. So I mean,
that is so
some
cool, Roy
fancy
Rogers.
names there. I mean, younger people probably have no idea.
They're all googling right now. Roy
They're like, who are
Rogers.
these
What is that?
people?
Who are
I
these?
know who Drew Barrymore is.
Yeah, I mean, you know, who doesn't know who Drew Barrymore is? At
I
one
mean,
time,
yeah,
she
she's
was in
adorable.
everything.
Yeah, especially
Uh,
E.T., which is like the scariest movie ever.
I love E.T. I
No,
saw it
no more.
17 times as a kid inside the
No,
movie theaters,
no, thank you.
a- and I remember I think it was the second or third time I ever saw it. There was a big burly biker man there crying when E.T. died.
Oh my God.
I was like, "Wow, that
He
it's a
has,
powerful movie when you're a big burly biker guy and
and you're
you're crying
crying
with
at
ET."
ET. Mm-mm, not me.
So
I will go alone in the dark, but I've been scared of him ever since I was a child. And just he freaks me out. I mean, his neck grows and he like, I don't know, his finger glows. It's just
yeah.
not, that's not for me.
See, last year up in Buffalo, New York, I brought my youngest son to the Nickel City Comic Con,
Okay.
and the guy who was in the ET costume, I got to meet him.
Oh, that's so neat. I met Dee Wallace, who plays the mom.
Okay.
I met Elliot, and I met the oh, I forgot his name and I feel terrible. He was like the brother's like friend that was like, "Yeah, let's go outside and go get him."
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
He was in The Outsiders. I can't remember his name, but I met
Yeah.
him too. But yeah, I told when I met
Yeah.
Elliot, I was like, I used to have the biggest crush on you, but I was so scared if he was a child. And he was like, you have no idea how often I hear that. I was like, oh, okay.
See, yeah, I had the opportunity to meet Elliot, and like I said, the guy who played ET in certain parts of the movie,
I wouldn't want to
when
meet him.
ET was walking around, that was him in the costume.
Oh.
And yeah, he really doesn't have any legs.
Oh, he
So
doesn't have any legs.
no, and
I didn't
he
know
gets
that.
around on a skateboard.
Get out of here.
Yes, it was
I
like the
didn't
most
miss
because
that.
when I first saw him, I'm like, why is there a guy riding a skateboard through the Comic Con? And then I realized, oh crap, he doesn't have any legs. And I'm like, who is this guy? And then I was just watching him. All of a sudden, he headed over to the booth right next to the guy who plays Elliot, and he got in, and I was like, oh my god, that is the guy who played ET. And
I
I
didn't.
had to go talk to him, and I'm like, you seriously played ET? He goes, yeah, in certain parts of the movies when you saw ET walk, that was him in the costume.
Yeah,
I
his
was like,
walk is creepy. He's like, and he breathes like real heavy. He's like, like that's freaky. No, if I would
yeah.
have been freaked out if I met him. I'd be like, no, thank you.
No, he was a really, really
I'm
super
sure.
nice
No,
guy.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's a sweet
Yeah,
guy.
I
As long as he
actually
doesn't look
got
like ET, I'm good.
no. He's actually a really decent looking guy. I mean, he's a lot
Oh
older,
wow.
obviously, but yeah, no. Like I said, he was. I bought an ET and Elliot Funko Pop, and they had them sign them both for me. So
Oh, that's
I've
really
got that
nice.
because, like I said, ET was one of my childhood favorite movies of all time.
Oh
So I
yeah.
really enjoyed
I
that.
used to scare the crap out of myself with that movie. I'd go put it on, press play, then run back to my couch and cover myself with my blanket and be like, Mom, turn it off.
Oh my god.
Thought it was a good
Uh,
idea to freak myself out.
No, no. Like I said, I always thought ET was adorable.
No, he's
Little.
not.
He's less scary than some of these other aliens that I've been learning about
I
through.
mean, yeah, but aliens they're all like coming out that it's real and that they live in our oceans and that they're in the skies and like
But none of
everybody's just
them
like,
look like ET, and I'm very
no,
disappointed.
I want them to look like the movie Signs.
I don't know if I saw that one.
Oh, M. Night Shyamalan, brilliant man. That's a good movie, Signs.
Uh, so we are gonna dive deep down into your life. I mean,
God bless you.
statistically speaking, okay, so I did a little bit of research. So statistically speaking, on the worldwide database, 86% of people have a drug addiction.
Mhm.
Like 86%.
Yeah.
That is huge.
You look in a room with 10 people, there's a good percentage that almost every single one of those people have an addiction problem. People just don't realize it.
Right. And I mean, to me, like I figured that, with everything going on in the world, it's probably on the rise because, it is like alcohol. It's a coping mechanism that people use to kind of get out of their life at this time.
Yeah.
So I want to go back a little bit. So when did your drug use begin, and how did you get into it? I mean, it's not something you wake up one day and go, "Oh, by the way, I think I'm just going to take drugs today."
Today is the day I think I may become addicted to drugs. So growing up, my father was an addict and I helped take care of him. And then he got clean and sober. My dad's a brilliant man. He was a doctor, and it doesn't matter who you are, addiction will take you. Um, so as a child, I was exposed to it. My mother is the complete opposite. Like I've never even seen my mom drink like wine or anything. But growing up, I was witness to it. I was probably about 8 years old when I saw my father first shoot up. My dad was like a very like well-respected physical therapist, and like nobody in my family like knew, and like I didn't really know like what to tell people because I wasn't really sure what he was doing.
Right.
Um, and then probably later on in my teen years, you get with your friends, and for some reason, what was very popular in Long Island was popping ecstasy. So, I dabble with my friends, and we, on the weekends do that. And then for years, I stopped doing anything. And then in my later 20s, I was going through a really bad divorce, and I just let it get a hold of my entire soul, and I started becoming very addicted to Suboxone, which is used for people to come off of heroin. So
Excuse me.
it's okay. It's used to get people off of opioids. But so I became very addicted to that. So I started seeing a doctor, and he didn't care. He knew that I was there just to get a fix. Like most of the doctors don't care, unfortunately. You pay in cash. Your doctor's appointment's like $200. They give you a script, you're happy. Um, and then I used to be a very lovely exotic entertainer, and in that lifestyle, you're up all hours of the night. And meth got introduced to me at work one night, and at first, it only started that like I would do meth. I would only do it on the weekends, so that made me not a drug addict. And then I only did it every other day, so that didn't make me a drug addict. And then eventually, it got so bad that I barely took care of myself. I was down to maybe 80, 90 pounds. I mean, I have 3 children, and I'll hold that to be true that I was a terrible mother at that point. I did the best I could being a
Right.
functioning addict. Thankfully, I have full custody of my children, and I'm able to repair and fix everything that I have unfortunately done. But uh, yeah,
You say, and that's a very interesting thing. And I mean, I worked in the adult entertainment industry for quite a few years myself.
yeah,
I worked with some of the top porn people. I would walk around, I would go around with them and tour and be their personal MC at all their appearances at clubs and
yeah,
stuff like that. So yeah, I got to see like the drug use and stuff like that. I mean,
it
knock
comes
on
so
wood.
easy.
Oh yeah, and I mean it is quite easy to get sucked into that life because you think, "Oh, what's just one hit? Oh, what's just one time?"
Yeah,
But that's
that's
how it all starts, and,
yeah. Meth is
then
a very addictive drug too. So like, you only need a little bit, and then you feel great for like literally a whole day, and then you're like, what? Why? How could this be bad for anybody?
right, right,
And then it's the people you least expect. I mean, I got I mean, I know it sounds terrible, but I got caught by the police because I was allegedly doing other things like selling
right,
substances.
right.
But thankfully I got arrested and I went to jail, and then I asked for rehab, and December 18th I'll have 6 years clean. So, overcoming that battle, that is something that you have to want, and it's something that you have to fight for every day, and I do. And it was very much worth it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know, drug being a drug addict, being an alcoholic, even being a smoker, like,
Yeah.
when you quit these addictive habits, it is a struggle each and
Mm.
every day. I mean, people that have never been addicted to any of these, but, I mean, there's other things that people can be addicted to. People can be addicted to food, people can be
Oh, yeah.
addicted to.
Humans, you can be addicted to another person,
Yeah,
money,
I mean, yeah,
clothes.
it's there's so much
Addiction is
addiction,
addiction. Yeah.
and it's hard. You think, "Oh, well, I can stop tomorrow." Yeah, you might stop for a day, but then you feel different
Oh,
inside,
you
and you're
get
like,
so sick.
"Ooh,
Yeah. You're like, I don't
I
want that.
just I'll just do it today, this
Yeah.
way here, and just get through this day."
It's literally what you
So,
tell yourself every day. And like tomorrow, you'll wake up and you're not going to need this, and you're going to do better, and you're going to stop. And, you can say that as many times as you want, but unless you actually genuinely mean it, I mean, addiction is one of the deadliest ways to go because it just grabs a hold of you so quickly, and
well,
it
I
consumes your life in every aspect.
I know according to some of the sites that I've been on over the last couple days researching drug addiction and stuff like that, because like even some of my closest friends, like Michael John, like a homeless drug addict one time, and now, I mean, look at him. He's now a TV reality star,
That's wonderful.
and it just goes to show you that you can overcome
Yes,
this
you can.
addiction,
You have to
and
believe in yourself.
it's a really, really tough battle because
Yeah.
it's probably a lot easier to give in than it is to keep fighting.
You have to find out why you're using. I had a lot of, we'll call them demons, that I had to deal with. I had to come to terms with so much, and you have to be so raw and so honest with yourself going through the process of being sober, because you're so vulnerable, and you have to let it all out. You have to get down into, the reasons of why and what made you start using, and you have to learn coping skills other than using. I was very lucky. I went to a great rehab. I don't know if I'm allowed to say their name, but
Right.
they were wonderful, and they taught me about my addiction and how to control it, and how to learn what it does to you, because meth actually rewires your brain. So normal things, like I have very like bad memory. I'll forget things very quickly. I repeat myself a lot just because it eats away at certain parts of your brain, so you forget. Um, Pause. It's post-acute withdrawal syndrome. Those are things you go through after being sober. I've been sober 6 years, and there's times that I feel like I'm withdrawing still, and those are things that everybody in recovery has to deal with.
Um, you say you've got things that you have to deal with and know the triggers. I mean, that is the same with mental health. I mean,
Oh yeah,
with mental health,
I have terrible mental health.
people, you got to find what triggers you so
Yeah.
that you can work to kind of not let it run your life.
Yes, no, I see a trauma therapist. I see a regular therapist. I go to a doctor. I'm on medication. Uh, they have me on, just a few different things
Right.
because I do have severe PTSD. I do have severe, anxiety and depression and, other things
Yeah.
of that nature. And being sober, it comes with the work afterwards. Like, you have to continue to go see a therapist. You have to continue to want to better your life every day in every way. And it's just a choice.
So the critical question is, what was it that you said, okay, enough's enough. I can't do this anymore. I'm I've got to change my life. What was that moment like, if you can still remember that moment?
I've never openly shared this. But this so it was, my daughters were with my ex, and he was bringing them home, and I needed my fix, and I was in a very, very, very bad mood. And my kids came home, and they were so happy that they made these plates with their grandparents, and I didn't realize what they were like, what my ex was handing me, and I just took it and I smashed it, and I was like, I told you were supposed to fucking bring them home at this time. Excuse my language. And he like looked at me and like stepped back and was like, "What are you doing? Like, your kids made those things." And I was like, "I need help. I need to get better." And then, fortunately, because of allegedly I was selling drugs, I got arrested, and I had to go to jail. And then after that, I went to rehab, and that's when I started getting my life on the right path. I actually started working at the movie theater, and Dave let me basically take over the place. I don't know
Eh,
why, but he thought it
Well,
was a good idea.
I mean, it's an amazing opportunity that you were given,
Yeah, I'm
considering
very
what you were
blessed.
going through. And I find when you're coming out of an addiction, or you suffer from any type of mental health issues, you have to find a hobby that will occupy your time, so you kind of can distract yourself.
Yeah.
Because uh, talking to a lot of addicts, it was always when they were bored and sitting around not
Oh,
doing
yeah.
anything.
That's a big one.
It's kind of like late night snacking. Like, you're in bed and you're like, I just ate dinner, but God, I'm hungry. Why am I
I, s-
hungry? Well,
I
it's
still
because
do
I'm
that. I
bored
don't
eating.
care. No, it is true. People, places, and things is 100% a very true like statement to say. I forgot what I was gonna say.
No, but I mean, I'm so proud that you did get clean and sober.
Thank you.
And I mean, you posted a picture, and I believe it was back in December.
Yeah. Do you
You did
have
a
it?
side by. I don't have it. I wish I saved it, because I knew right then and there. I'm like, oh my god, I have to get this girl on,
Yeah.
because
I was
she went from
unrecognizable.
looking like somebody who was
You could
dying of
say it. Yeah,
cancer
no. Yeah, I did. I look very sick.
to what you look like now. And I mean,
This.
but I mean, you are totally. I mean,
I'm better.
you're a very attractive woman. You're a very
Thank
beautiful
you.
woman. You've got a beautiful soul, and it was like really taking back of looking at that picture, going, no, that can't be her.
Yeah.
It was like kind of trying to pick it apart, because
Yeah, a lot of people don't believe that's me.
you see those weight loss photos. This is me at 300 pounds. This is me at 150. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, that don't look like the same guy. but
You look
but
different. No, yeah. I
but
mean, that was a lost soul. I always say, like, when I was going through all that, I mean, I was so broken and lost, and I was just angry and wanted to hurt, and I didn't know how to heal. Thankfully, by the grace of God, or whoever you believe in, or your higher
right,
power, anything, that's what saved me. My
right,
children saved me. I saved myself.
and that's really when you know that it's deep down, and this is when you really want it, when you do it for yourself.
Yeah. You gotta do
Yes,
it for yourself.
it's good to do it for your kids. I mean,
But that won't last if you do it for them.
no, well, for me that it has, because I've attempted suicide 3 times, and here I'm still am.
I'm
And it
very
was
proud of yourself.
every time, it was always the thought of, what are my kids gonna do without me? I
Yeah.
mean, I know part of my brain is saying, well, they're probably better off without me. But at the same time, you're going, no, you're going to miss out on so much of their
Yeah.
life. And what is this going to do to them? Will it send them down a wrong path? Because I have seen kids of people who have committed suicide and what it has done to them.
Yes.
And the same has got to be for your kids watching you do or going through the process of mommy's on drugs and
Yeah.
mommy's sleeping all the time. Mommy's doing what
Yeah.
mommy's doing. So you
I mean,
kind of check out of life.
yeah, my kids, I mean, I can actually have them all come in here and they'd be like, "Oh, she's wonderful. She's the best."
Yeah,
But I mean, my children are absolutely the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I'm thankful every day that I got them with me full time, and I'm very thankful that I have my sobriety, but it is a test every day. And
right.
people that are trying to get sober or trying to do any of that, feel free to reach out to me on any platform. I will help you the best I can. I know tons of rehabs. I know many ways to help you in many programs. So always feel free to reach out to me.
But that to me, that's always important too, is for somebody like yourself who has been through it all and be able to come out on the other side. You have far more knowledge and experience and can speak to somebody on their level
Yeah.
than a doctor who just goes to school and gets a doctorate and reads all kinds of books because like everything else, drug addiction and mental health issues,
Oh, yeah.
it's not the same for everybody. People
No.
deal with it all differently. And so people who have experience, I think, should be the ones that are down in these rehab clinics talking to the people who are currently going through it to show, look at me. I was where you are and
Yeah,
look at
never in
me
a
now.
million years. Never in a million years did I ever think I'd be where I'm at today. I mean, I never brag about myself because I don't know, it makes me feel silly, but I mean, I went from being a drug addict that was so behind, owed everybody money, owed every company money, things were getting shut off, to I am very blessed. I'm a homeowner now, and I did that all on my own. I run the movie theater, I do that. I have a paranormal team. It's basically just me anymore, but it's still there.
No,
But I have
and
full custody of my kids. My twins just are graduating high school. My youngest daughter is turning 15 in 2 weeks. So, life's
wow.
really good, and I'm so thankful, and I'm so proud of myself for working to get to where I'm at, because it is a struggle, and it's not it's I never knock anybody. People are like, "Oh, well, I got 5 years sober and I don't even have my own apartment," or "I got 2 years sober and I own a house." Like, everybody's process is different, and I was very, very blessed to have, I call them my tribe, to have everybody that I have. I have beautiful people in my life that really just like stand by me no matter what, and I don't know how I got that lucky, but I definitely did. Kirsten's been one of my best friends for 13 years. She's been my rock through, my God, anything. So it's the tribe you surround yourself with. Robert, Dave, the owner of the theater, and most importantly, your dogs.
And I mean, thank God for pets. Like I
Thank
said, a
God for
lot of
pets.
it.
Mine are sleeping right there.
um, so let's touch a little bit about the abuse that you
Yep.
went through. I mean, was that during the time of your drug addiction, or was this something that happened before, after?
So,
When did you have? Because I mean, it's like wow. I would think that I just got dealt the world's shittiest hand here. I'm doing a drug addict, but now I got to deal with this bullshit.
so
Type of
I can't speak too much on it because I have an open
no,
case against the person, but I will say what I know I'm legally allowed to say. It
right,
was after my drug abuse. I met a man that I thought was absolutely everything in the whole world. And, you know, I mean, obviously a lot of people know who he is
right.
just because we were together in the paranormal field and people saw us. But unfortunately, that man was a monster. He would degrade me and my body and everything about me, to the point where I was going to my own doctor telling him these things, and they were like, honey, there's nothing wrong with you.
Right. Yeah.
He's just like, I wouldn't say where, like, why I felt this way,
Right.
because, you can't tell, you tell on them. But unfortunately, it got so bad that he broke into my house after I had left him and punched my 14, Presley was 14 at the time, in the face. So we have
Wow.
an ongoing court battle with him right now.
Well, and I am so happy that you got yourself out of that
Yes.
situation as well. I mean, just like reading statistically, it's 368,000 people a year that have some kind of domestic abuse brought against them. It could be physical, it could be mental, it could be multiple other things,
Yeah.
but it is something that we fall into. I mean, this is where I can relate to you because I was in very abusive relationships. So I have a very low self-esteem of
Yeah. So
myself.
do I.
People say, "Oh, you're a handsome guy," and I'm like, "Yeah, you need serious
And people
glasses."
always be like, you're pretty. I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, I literally think I'm probably one of the ugliest people there. I
Excuse
think
me.
I'm funny. So I think
Yeah,
like that's, people make it confuses them. They're like, oh, she's funny, so she's hot. No, no, no. I'm just really funny. And it
you're
just
just really
confuses
funny.
them. But like otherwise, like, men and women, they go after a
Yep.
certain type. And that wasn't my first abusive relationship. That was the one that really, really, really took a toll on me. And
Right.
I'm, like I said, I'm in trauma therapy now, and I have a PFA. And hopefully this will all be over soon, because that person also, after me, went and assaulted another mother and child, so has more pending
Yeah.
charges from another county. So I mean,
Yeah.
abusers will always be abusers. It's
And that's a sad part. And I think laws need to get a little bit stricter on anybody for one that abuses anybody in this world. And I mean, because it's like you have to wonder, like, and I was reading, like, statistically, kids who watch one or their parents abuse the other parent end up being abusers themselves.
Yeah.
I was like, that's very alarming
Yeah.
because, and this is like, I'm grateful that the woman that I had my kids with, absolute sweetheart of a woman. I still love her to this day. She's like one of my best friends. We just could not be together.
Yeah.
And but I mean, but yeah, the thought of and I know we had some pretty nasty fights, and I look back on that now and I feel like, they weren't physical,
No, they don't always
but
have to
they were
be.
just always shouting. But
Yeah.
and I always think like, wow, what did that do to my kids? And this is why I'm glad I have a good relationship with my kids
Yeah.
because they were part of some of those really nasty yelling fights. And
Yeah, I ask my
but
kids all the time that kind of stuff. I always like question, like, you're loved and like you're valued, and you never let a man talk to you like that. And like what I
right,
experienced, like you never, like, that's not okay. And
right,
I mean, and I have three daughters, so, and all three of them witnessed, their mother allowing a man to
right,
beat her, degrade her, and for four
right.
years straight.
Yeah,
So
and it's and I try to bring this point home when I talk to people who are in these situations. It's like it's the kids who grow up to think that's natural, so they do it
yeah.
themselves. But yeah, we need to nip this in the butt to stop
Yeah.
and realize that it's not okay to talk down to anybody. It doesn't matter who they are. It is not okay. And
No. You
you
never
gotta
know what somebody's going through. So you never
correct,
want to do. I always look at it as like, your smile could change that one person's day. They could be wanting to
right,
end their life, and you just being like, hi, have a good day. That could change everything. I believe kindness goes a lot farther than anything else. And I try to always be kind to others. It's one of my biggest things, because I think I was so hateful and angry before, that now I just don't have it in me. And I just like,
right.
I'm always like, I love everybody. It's okay.
Peace and love across the
Peace,
world.
love, and happiness.
Yes. And that's what the world really needs right now is a lot
Honest.
more
Oh
peace
yeah.
and love and
I mean, I know you're in Canada, but I mean, you guys are offering us asylum.
yeah, it's
That's
it's
wild.
it's quite crazy just what
I just
the
want to come
things
over
that
there
are
just to
what
live
are being brought
over.
into the news all the time. It's like nobody ever talks about Canada. We're the nice country. Why are people picking on the nice
We're the
country?
nice guys.
We don't do anything. We just say sorry and move on with our lives.
Sorry, and you have maple syrup.
That's right.
Yeah, you
We,
get the
we
Mounties.
yes.
See, I know a little bit about Canada.
But so here you go. You now get out of an abusive relationship.
Okay.
How hard was that for you not just to revert back to your old self and just going, okay, I need to take drugs?
Do, uh, doing anything illegal now, one, I'm the biggest like baby. Like I'm too scared to do anything. And I truly healed from that part. So
Good.
I'm very lucky that I am one of the very few that I don't really get the urge to be like, ooh, drugs. Like after getting out of an abusive relationship, I was like, oh, thank God, peace. Like
And that's a
thank
good way of
God.
looking at it.
Yeah, trust me. I mean, I went through a lot with that man. I mean, it wasn't all bad, but I mean, it definitely wasn't all good. So, I mean, and unfortunately, himself has a son and he witnesses what his father does. So, unfortunately, it's a vicious, vicious cycle.
Well, we just hope that cycle gets broken before that little boy grows up and becomes a man himself.
A
But it
big bully.
is, yeah. And I mean, like I said, it's always, I mean, me, I don't have a mean streak in my body. I
No.
used to when
Oh,
I was
yeah,
a
me
lot
too.
younger. I was like always hot headed. And as I grew older and certain aspects of my life happened, and I tweaked a few things and to become a better person because I didn't like the way that I was living. I didn't like and it was like I had to change everybody that I was hanging around
Yeah.
with mostly because I found that you are more
Who you
likely
surround
to
yourself with.
be like the people you surround yourself with. Absolutely.
Yeah, you really
And
are.
this is why I surround myself with amazing people now, people who are driven, people who are passionate, people who just love life in general.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Oh my God, I just sneezed. But no, yeah, I think that's extremely, extremely important. That's what keeps me on the straight and narrow is the people I keep around me. I try to always bring people in my life or have people in my life that are always striving for better.
Right.
And I'm very fortunate. Like I said, I do have an amazing group that surrounds me, and everybody in our group, we really do. We try and we love, and we don't want bad for anybody. And
Right.
that's all you can really do every day. It's just, I think, just a smile a day to a stranger could change everything.
Yep. I totally agree. Just a smile and a nice hello usually
Yeah,
goes a long way with anybody in this world because, like you said, anybody could be having the most crappiest day in the world, and your hello or your smile just made their day so much
yeah.
brighter. Going, life is really not that bad all of a sudden.
No, yeah. I mean, I suffer with so like mental illness real bad that like before I was on medication that like there was many days that if a certain person didn't call me or something like that, like it really would have taken me. And,
Right.
there's people out there and when they reach out, it changes everything. Makes you feel
Absolutely.
not so alone. I think that's one of the
No,
fears of anybody is just to be alone, completely alone.
right, and that's the biggest thing is, and I mean, I know with me and my mental health, when I feel alone, I'm really not alone, and that's the one thing people have to know in this world. It doesn't matter what you're going through or how you're feeling at the moment. You are definitely not alone. All you have to do is pick up a phone, text somebody, call somebody, message
Yeah.
somebody. You know, there
There's
there's no way people can
hotlines.
hide anymore because
Yeah.
there's too many ways to get a hold of somebody if you don't
Yeah.
if they're not answering one, try another and just let them know. I mean, I know when I struggle, it seems like I get the greatest messages from my friends, and it just be
Yeah.
like, Yep, time to get up
It
and
like heals your
get
soul.
off my day.
Yeah, I agree with
So
that. Little things can just change the whole experience. The whole um I'm very like I say I'm very lucky all the time, but like that's one thing that helped me pull through a lot of the times was, one thing that you do as an addict, you're up at night. So one thing that I found comfort in was investigating at night instead of
right.
being high at night. So you can find comfort in other things that are very similar to,
That's
and
a
it still
whole
gives you.
different adrenaline rush right there.
Listen, that's what I'm saying. You still get that little like, oh my God, something's gonna grab me. I'm gonna
Yeah,
get touched.
it's like I don't get out to do as much investigation as I used to,
No,
but
I
and I'm
agree.
okay with that because this I really truly appreciate the ones that I do get to go on.
Yeah.
And because usually I'm with like some truly amazing people when I'm at any type of location. It's usually some of the most amazing people, and I get to sit back and I truly love just watching people investigate and see how people react to certain
Yes.
situations.
I got my kids into it. One of my daughters, me and her are talking about starting a show, the little like investigation show together, and I kind of want to do it with her because she just loves it so much, and I love watching her investigate because she gives the best answers, and she just doesn't care. She has no fear, and she just goes off. So I'm just like, whatever. I haven't
That
investigated, and like I investigate my theater, but I mean, like it's part of my job. So like all the
yeah,
spirits know me, and I like spend the night there, and they're like it's you again. I announce myself when I come in, but I want to go. I need to come to Canada and doing some investigations.
absolutely. We got some pretty amazing places just around the
Yes.
area where I live. We have one of the original jail cells where they used to actually do hangings right there in the parking lot. And one of the last people that actually got hanged at that jail walks the halls because he was wrongfully executed. Because back in those days, it was like swift justice. You were tried in the morning and hung in the afternoon. So
Oh yeah.
there's none of these like you spend 15 years on death row like they do nowadays.
No, yeah. If
Well,
you're put on death
you
row,
got
you're
plenty of time
probably
to
gonna
come
die
up
in
with
jail.
evidence why you didn't do it. But back then, he was accused of killing police officers and he really didn't. And they found out
Yeah.
like 6 months after. And it's like, oops, what do you do then? It's just like the deed is done. You can't bring him
Yeah,
back.
there's nothing you can do.
So
Oh, that's
he's pretty
wild.
angry. Pretty angry, and he roams because back then also they used to have what they called these body cages. So when you killed somebody who was of authority back then, after they hung you, they would put your body on display for everybody to see.
Yeah.
So they obviously this is what they did. So they don't have the original one, but they have like a replica one that hangs up inside the halls, and that's generally where he is in that hallway because remember the one time I was there and I just couldn't feel like why I wanted to kill everybody around me. I was just so angry all of a sudden. I was just like,
Wasn't there?
don't
I've been
look
to
at
many
me because I
places.
will smash you in the face. Just don't look at me.
Don't come by me.
But yeah, and it was just like, wow. So yeah, the more history that I did on this place. So
Remember
yeah,
that
we have
TV
that.
show that I asked you about? What was the name of it? No, I forgot. Takes place in Canada. Can't remember it now.
Yeah, I
I
mean
messaged.
there was several of them that were filmed here because I know when when I was growing up and this was funny because I totally forgot all about the show. It was called The Girly Ghost Hunters.
I just saw that popped up on something.
And yeah, Dana Newark, she was by a different name back then. That was a show that she was on. And I remember one year at the MI Paracon, she was there with her husband, and I didn't know who she was. But my best friend, Mike Hartman, he was like, "Do you know who that is?" I was like, "Dana Newark," and he was like, "No, no, no, she's from a show from our era." And I was like, "Our era." I'm thinking, "Okay, I watched Scooby Doo. I watched,
She
and,
loves
and I'll go
Scooby
through
Doo.
all these shows." And he goes, "Did you ever watch a show called The Girly Ghost Hunters?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, that's Dana.
I think
I was like,
it's on Tubi.
well, probably.
I think that's
But
where I
yeah,
saw it.
it was yeah. So he goes, I want you to go over there. I want you to walk up to her and say, "You love the girly ghost hunter," and just watch the expression on her face. So I was like, all right, as long as it doesn't get me beat up here.
You didn't take your medicine? Or your cold medicine? I'm sorry, one of my daughters just walked in the room.
No, it's all right.
Bring it over
Uh,
to me.
but so I remember the girly ghost hunters because that was filmed up in Hamilton, Ontario area. I know there was
Paranormal
like
State was filmed right around me. I live in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, but yeah, they were filmed in Penn State College, Penn State.
yeah, that is so cool. No, I like it when these places come. And I mean, I know a lot of the shows like uh, Paranormal Survivor was filmed here up in Toronto.
Paranormal. Wait, I missed everything. Everything cut out. I just got back in here.
Okay, so Paranormal Survivor was filmed in a studio in Toronto, but that was like a reenactment show.
Oh my
And I
god.
know there was a couple other ones that were filmed.
No, it's hosted by this really attractive man. I can't remember his name. I'm so mad because I used to watch it all the time. But they had the best stories, and there was like this biggest explosion somewhere in Canada, like right on the seaport, and like the
Okay.
ghosts haunt it. I don't remember where. Look how
I
helpful I am.
yeah,
Look how
I'll
well.
have to brush up on my Canadian
I'm gonna text you
ghost
later and be
hunting
like,
show.
"This is what it is.
This is what it is. I found it.
I found it. I remember what it is. It was like
Uh,
ghostly encounters. Ghostly
oh yeah,
encounters.
okay, yeah.
That was
I
it.
remember Ghost. That was the actually. I was actually talking to that guy.
You
Uh,
spoke to him. I love
yeah,
him. I love him, and I love his
because
acting.
I did. I think if it's the same guy I'm thinking about, he also hosted the show Paranormal Survivor
He might have.
back in the early, like when the first season, because
Yeah,
that
like this
was.
is yeah.
But yeah,
I'm
no, I
almost in my
remember talking to
40s.
him because back in 2015, I was hosting a Paracon here in Windsor, and I thought it'd be really cool to get this guy to come down and do an appearance because I thought like at that time like that show was like one of the hottest shows on
Yeah,
cable TV. So I thought it would have been cool to get him down here, but he was a very busy man, and we just could not land a deal to get him down here. So,
that
but
would
I
have
did
been
talk to him a
so
couple
cool.
times. But yeah, we're super nice guy.
Just
Really,
tell him I love him. If you ever speak to him again, be like, some strange lady from America really loves you.
yeah. If you ever go to Pennsylvania, just go
Just
meet
stop
Ariel.
by.
You know, she's
She'll
just
know
stop by.
exactly who
Show
you
up.
are.
Don't even tell her you're coming. Just knock on the door.
Just surprise her.
Yeah.
I would have no complaints. I'd be like, "Oh my god, welcome. Do you want me to feed you?
What are you doing?
What are you doing here?"
So, if you had any advice to give anybody who's watching this show now, watching this show later, watching this show a month from now, if you could give somebody an advice about recovering and getting yourself back to being normal, because I'm sure life after addiction is a new normal. It's that you can't
No,
go back
yeah.
to being who you were.
No, yeah.
But
You have to
what
change
advice would you
everything.
give somebody who came to you and says, Ariel, I'm really struggling. What would you say to that person?
To somebody in active addiction, the best thing you can do, and it's one of the hardest steps you can take, but go to an inpatient service and, stay there for 30 to 60 days. That is what changed me. Inpatient, a lot of therapy. But you gotta actually want it. You have
Right.
to truly want to be sober, and it's not easy. And the best advice I could ever give somebody is that you have to believe in yourself, no matter if everybody, one day sober is one day sober. Relapse is part of recovery. And that's a big thing that I always preach. Relapse is part of recovery. It is okay if you screw up, but it's all about getting back up on your 2 feet and making sure that you're doing better the next time around. So my best advice is believe in yourself, Reach out. Don't be scared. There are many. I was too scared to reach out for help because I thought I'd get in trouble. Like I thought if I called a rehab and said I'm addicted to drugs, like they would call the police, and all
Right.
these wild things would happen. That's not true. That's not what happens. There are many programs that you can just reach out quietly, and they will do above and beyond to get you to sobriety. And I never thought I'd be sober. I never thought my life could be this amazing, but it's so worth it. It's so
That is
worth it.
so cool, and I'm so happy you are in a position today to really be grateful about where you are
Oh
today
yeah.
compared to where you were when you were at the lowest point of your life. um,
I can't even believe I made it through it. I say it all the time. I can't believe I am where I am. But
well,
I come from good stuff.
there's a reason you're still here, and I think it's because people need to be inspired by your story to say that if you want out, you can get out. All you
Yeah.
have to do is want it bad enough because it's not a final destination, and you have to get out before drugs can
No.
kill you because
Yeah.
I mean it's I
It's three things happen. You either end up dead, incarcerated, or sober. Two choices.
that is true, and you know, and so let's talk about your theater.
Okay.
What's going on with the theater? What's the name of the theater? How can people
So
find the theater?
it's an old historical theater. It was built back in the 1850s. It survived two fires and two floods. It's called the Huntingdon Cinema, it was originally the Huntingdon Opera House, but now it's just the Huntingdon Cinema. We're located in Huntingdon, Pennsylvania. We show all current movies. You can book us for $400 for an overnight from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. So I think that's really like a fair,
Wow.
good deal. You get 5 theaters, an attic, a basement, and just tons of creepy stuff happens. You get grabbed, you get tugged. We've had some really cool people come to the theater. We just had Bianca Rose there, who she's just a delicious delight. She's adorable. I've had so many wonderful people come to the theater, and the theater's quite amazing. It's very freaky. I would say one's my least favorite theater, and I don't like to go in there alone.
So what is the most creepiest, freakiest thing that's happened to you while you were at the theater?
So we were investigating. I think this is probably the scariest thing that's ever happened to me in ghost hunting in general. Um, we were standing there, and I had a speaker in one hand, and I can't remember what other thing I was holding in my other hand at this point, but I was standing just like this, and into my ear, just as you can hear somebody talk, like you could feel their breath move. I felt somebody grab my wrist and say, "Get." But it was just the way it was said. It was the most evil, angriest, hateful voice I've ever heard in my entire life. And that voice rang in my head forever. And for months and months, I would not go back into theater one. So that would probably be the scariest thing that's happened to me there.
Wow, yeah,
No, yeah,
that's I
I
mean
won't go in there. I make people go with
that
me.
is it's like, yeah, I'm not going in there by alone, but if you want to
Mhm.
go in there and knock
Oh
yourself
no, yeah.
out,
I tell all my employees, I'm like, "Oh, who wants to come to one with me?" And they're like, "Ugh, I will." But everybody that works at the theater is like 90% of them are like freaked out by the things that happen. So they all stay together, or they'll all go into teams. So most people that work there are freaked out by all the things that happened.
so that's the challenge. If you're gonna investigate, you have to stay in theater one by yourself for a minimum of 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That
Especially if
that
you're a female. They don't like girls.
well, you know, and that's usually the interesting part because I know I investigated a theater here in Ontario. It's called the Grand Theater. It's in London, Ontario. The guy who ran it back in the early 1900s, he was a womanizer. So his booth so he had his own private booth, and behind it was a door. You go in there. That's where they said that he used to take the women for when if you wanted a part in the movie, you had to
Yeah.
You had to sleep with them, and so there was a lot of like back then. It was like women were second-rate citizens and treated very badly in the movie theater, like in
Oh
the
yeah,
theater
you were
industry.
an object. You were owned. You had a lease. They had a
Yeah,
contract with you. You had to. Same thing with our theater. Like Jimmy Jones is the old general manager at that time, and he was known to rule with an iron fist. And it was known that if any of the girls got pregnant, that was not allowed. Very strict rulings of weight and height and the way you have your hair. You were owned by the companies. You were owned by the
yeah.
studios.
That's so crazy to even think about in today's society.
I
How equal we all are, and I mean, there's probably now women that do it to guys, but
know.
but
It's just
it's just
payback
it's
for
just
all
weird
those
when
years.
when you really think about like how life was back then. It was like that was normal to them, and they were okay
Life
with
is
it.
terrible.
But
Life is
yeah,
terrible
by
for
us, where
women.
we sit back now and go, wow, that guy would have been arrested, thrown in jail, and all this. But
Oh my
back then, it
God,
would be
yeah.
like, hey, they wanted a part, so this is how you do it.
Do it Harvey Weinstein style.
Yeah,
Come sit on my couch.
absolutely. Ariel, it's been absolutely a great pleasure of
It's
talking with
been
you, getting to
amazing.
know your story. I can't believe like a whole hour has passed us
I know, I can't believe
already
either.
because, like I said, it is like I truly love inspiring stories like yours and how you've really 360 yourself right back into a very beautiful life.
Thank
You've
you.
got you're doing great. I'm so proud to know you, and I'm so
Thank
proud
you.
of how far you've
Oh,
come. And I look forward to getting down to see you guys
I know.
because
I'm
I got
very
to
excited to see
investigate
you.
this theater now, and because
Yes, now
I'm
you
one of
guys can
those
come.
people that are like, okay, put me in one. I don't care what's the worst that's
Oh
gonna
no,
happen to me.
don't play with me. Dad, don't play with me.
Uh,
I'll
just
lock you in there.
give me a blanket and a pillow, and come and get me at like
Listen,
7
I got an
a.m.
air
I'll be
mattress
fine.
up in my office with a blanket and pillow and a TV. I sleep there at night.
There you go. That is so cool. But I appreciate you coming on,
Of
telling your
course.
story. I
Thank
know
you for
how hard
having
it
me.
is to open yourself up, to be raw and to be vulnerable, and to
Yeah,
know that, you know,
it's
people out
okay.
there, it's not a good world, but there are good people in this world.
Yeah, and
I
everything's gonna
always
be okay.
absolutely. And here on Seeking Vibes podcast, I always say you may not be able to change the world, but you can at least change the world for one person. So I appreciate everybody who tuned in. I like, please like, subscribe. What is the website to the theater if somebody is interested in booking
Huntington
sometime?
Cinema, just Huntington Cinema, the Huntington Clifton Cinema. You can also look up on
Okay,
Google. And then if you want to follow me on my TikTok, which I go live in the theater, it's Ariel at the Clifton. And then if you want to follow us, you can follow me on Facebook, which I post things about the theater all the time. And I'm just Ariel Gratta.
there you go, Ariel. Thank you so much.
You're very
Please
welcome.
keep striving, keep moving forward in
I
your life.
will.
And I look forward to seeing you somewhere down the road soon. Everybody, we are going to be back once again next week with another spectacular show. We have Tim Miley and Lauren who are going to be talking about mental health and his suicide attempt and how his event Potographs came to be. So that is going to be next Tuesday right here, Seek Advice Podcast on YouTube and on Facebook. In the meantime, everybody, have yourself a wonderful evening. And remember, just be kind to one another. It's so much easier.
Hug a
Love you all.
stranger.
Have a good night.